Welcome, wild ones. I am so excited and delighted and thrilled and in wonderment to bring to you Jane Cormack. She has been facilitating feminine-focused workshops, retreats, and I'm reading again, you guys, classes, private sessions, sacred circles for women since 2010. She just authored a new book called Language of the Feminine, Awaken the Source of Your Creative, Intuitive, and Sensual Self. Let's just do, that's so juicy. Let's just sit there. Sensual, intuitive, creative self. Oh, yum. She's passionate about creativity, the natural world. She's traveled and lived wildly. Ooh, Freudian slip there. Lived widely in various global settings, from Berlin to Scotland to the Netherlands to Hawaii to South America, New Zealand, Australia, Bali, and lots of places in between. She has combined her creative background in design, color, film, and TV, writing, art, poetry, and song with 20 years of spiritual and personal development training. She holds a BA honors degree in 3D design and craft, as well as an MA degree in creative professional writing, and is a licensed teacher of the art of feminine presence. Wow. Welcome, Jane.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
Yeah.
Wild introduction.
Yeah, we gotta ask about that, living wildly. Maybe we can just jump right in there and I'll ask you the other questions right now. So tell me about your living wildly, Jane.
Wildly.
Oh, a wild woman. Fabulous. Okay, I actually don't want to put you on the spot with that. Maybe after it's over, we can share a couple stories with me. But in the meantime, unleashing your wild gypsy soul. What does unleashing and what is your wild soul and being a gypsy and all of that? What does that mean to you? How does it resonate with you?
Well, I love all those words for a start. Wild gypsy soul, and all the words from my book that you mentioned as well: creativity, intuition, sensuality. And they're all interlinked to me. Yeah. But when I think of wild, I think of returning to our primal self. So it's about, for me, connecting to the earth and connecting to that primal part of ourselves that is in tune with the earth, in tune with the rhythms of nature. And there's a certain element of wildness to that, because we're returning to this part of us that intrinsically knows in our bodies these rhythms, that intrinsically knows how to connect with nature, how to communicate with nature, and how to follow this instinct that we have. And the other piece of it is following the wild intuitive knowings that can emerge, the ideas that come up, and trusting that impulse to listen and to take action and to follow that without really knowing where it's going to lead. But the wildness is that you don't know. It's trusting the unknown, trusting the intuitive self. So that's what I think of when I think of wild. The first thing that comes to mind. Also, gypsy. I think you mentioned this in other talks you've done. For me, is very much about movement and travel. And I've done, as you said in introduction, a lot of traveling and moving around. So I think there's an inherent part of me that has a gypsy soul, where I'm called to different places for different reasons at different times in my life. And I've listened to that calling, I've listened to that pull to go to a certain country and live there for a while or for a visit, and had very potent experiences there where I've connected with people that have maybe changed the course of my life or inspired me to do something new or live an idea that I have. So I think it's important to come back to that wild primal element, instinct, and to listen to it, because there's so much juiciness and joy in listening to and following that form of guidance.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You know, when you were speaking, I thought of something that I hadn't really before, and the whole nomadic gypsy, the travel, all of that, I was like, you know, it feels like that almost feels more in resonance. Maybe it's with my soul, but I kind of feel like the human soul, to have that rather than this stationary, buy a home, live in it for 50 years, you know, whatever, one space, go out and travel. But I don't even know if, what do you think? Do you get what I'm trying to say? And I feel like maybe I'm taking this in a weird direction, but so forgive me, but I feel like I'm like, wow, that really feels, so tell me what you think. Be quiet.
Well, I think we're all different in terms of what we feel home is, and where we're guided to live. And I think we have been naturally nomadic peoples. When we lived in tribes, we moved to follow the fallowness or the fertility of the land. And it's very natural that we move in tribes, but we had our tribe, we had our family, we had our connection. And I think that's something that a lot of us are yearning so deeply for, and that's missing in our Western culture. There's a lot of disconnection because we are maybe living individually in our flat in the city, or we're missing out, a lot of us, on the experience of what it feels like to live in community or live in a tribe. And I think that's a very deep longing in a lot of people, from what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing. And it's happening online. Like, what you're doing now is creating a tribe, creating a movement of women, people, men as well, who are drawn to these words, this energy. So we're finding our tribes through the things that we do, through the creativity that we put out into the world, through the businesses and the work that we do. And there's communities popping up all over the world now as well, like new communities, different types of communities that are around like a central theme or a common theme. So spiritual communities, creative communities, women's groups, women's circles. And of course, one of the things that I do, my work is creating women's circles and women's groups. And one of the reasons for that is to create community, create this sense of connection and home and belonging and sisterhood. And it's needed. It's needed in our world. For us individually, I want that in my life. And everyone I speak to has a certain longing for that, and it looks different. So we're drawn by someone's energy, or the way that they express themselves, or the way that they appear, or the things they put out into the world. So we find our tribe by being true to ourselves and expressing who we are. I might have gone off on a tangent there, but
no, so did I. I love tangents, and I really appreciate that you were able to really go in there, because it was a little bit off topic and off the wall. But what I love that came up, how you pulled it all together, was the two thoughts came up. The first was how you pulled it together in the global aspect of it, and how that whole idea of traveling and roaming and all of that is that we're so much bigger. We are so much bigger souls than when I think that when we are in the one spot, in that we get too focused in, too small. Forget that there's a huge, wider, expansion of us and of the world in there. And so you pulled that in really beautifully. And I think that might have been part of what I was feeling is that, you know, why do we want to travel so much? Why do we want to go see, go do? It's because we're so big. You know, it's all, you know, first of all, I believe that if we're all one, and if we're really connected to everything, that we can resonate with something that is completely out of our known, what's around us, because it is us, you know.
Yes.
You sitting in Scotland are me as much as me sitting here in LA is you, in a very, very expanded version of ourselves. So anyway, let's pull it back into unleashing your wild gypsy songs.
Well, what I love about that as well is that when we travel and we go to different places and we connect with people from different places, is that we experience different aspects of ourselves as well. So different elements and aspects of ourselves that might not emerge in the place that we're in, or the place that's familiar to us, like where we grew up in our culture, has an opening to come out in a different way when we're in a different culture, experiencing you know, the climate, the food, the spirituality, the everything about a new culture, and I think that's one of the things that I love about travel and movement, is that I experience different parts of myself when I go and live in the big city of Berlin, or when I'm in, you know, the Highlands of Scotland, or when I'm, you know, in Australia or wherever else I've been. And to just link that in with our work and creativity as well, is that I've always been very creatively expressive through art, movement, music, word, and part of that is also I get to experience different aspects of myself through creativity, through expressing myself in those ways. And it's like a mirror that is reflected back to us of, you know, creating a painting with colors that you're just so in the moment, so present, and expressing that, maybe that wild part of you that you want to allow to emerge, but it's finding a way to let that come out. And painting might be your thing, or it might be dance or some other way. So we have these tools to experience different parts of ourselves through creativity as well as travel.
Yeah. So that's beautiful. I love that you brought up the mirror, because it reminded me when we were speaking before that you were telling me that you had been, when we had a conversation about a week ago when you were in Berlin at the time. By the way, everybody, Jane, I didn't say in the bio, is Scottish, and she's from Scotland, and she's just right outside of Edinburgh right now, which is kind of fun to just let everybody know that we're, you know, we've got little pieces here and there of people. But anyway, so what you brought up was that you were in Berlin and you were doing some witnessing work, and wanted to go into the whole witnessing, what that is, what that work is, and let's pull that in.
Yes. So I have been guiding different women's circles and groups for some time now, with a different theme to them. And as I was saying in a conversation with you before, I've just published my book, which came out in August, and part of the release of that book was about being witnessed in my truth, witnessed in having my voice heard, witnessed in being seen and showing up and expressing myself in the world. And so that became apparent that I wanted that to be the next theme or topic for the circles and the work I was doing, because it feels like a very important theme for women in particular, for men as well, but I've been working with women, because there's something about what we allow other people to see of us, and the boundaries and barriers and ways of being, habitual ways of being that we create, that we continually show up in life as. And it's not necessarily connected to the truth of who we know ourselves to be. And the truth of who we know ourselves to be are those parts of you, when you're in your still quiet, vulnerable moments, or your unbridled expression, but you're scared maybe of letting other people see that, and being witnessed in that. So the circles are really about creating a safe space for women, a sacred space where we can feel safe in practicing the art of showing up in the truth of who we know ourselves to be, in our fullness, in our vulnerability, in our softness, in our compassion, with open hearts, and to witness ourselves in that space as well. To be the witness of ourselves, allow ourselves to be witnessed by other people. So it's a way of kind of practicing how authentic we are in our expression of ourselves, and the parts that we feel shy about, the parts that we hide, the parts that we don't want other people to see, or the parts that we really love about ourselves that we do want other people to see, showing up in our magnificence and our full feminine glory as well. And I think it can be often easier to show the parts of ourselves, especially in our culture in the UK here. There's this thing called tall poppy syndrome, which is that if you shine too brightly, if you are really successful, doing really well, it's kind of common to get cut down to size. I don't believe it's so prevalent in American culture. This is, what I've witnessed and what I've seen, that it's more like support.
Not unheard of, but yeah, it's not a thing.
Yeah. So we've almost learned to suppress parts of ourselves, or for different reasons. We grow up in the different cultures that we grew up in, and we feel maybe it's not safe to show those parts of ourselves, show our sensuality, or that bright light, that beauty, that magnificence we are as human beings. And it comes from my own personal journey as well, as someone who is quite introverted, actually. And I could easily spend a lot of time in my creative world, my creative bubble, doing my writing, doing my work. But the importance of connecting, having deep connections with sisters, with other women, being seen, being heard, being appreciated for who we are, is vital to our growth and our flourishing as feminine women, as feminine leaders as well.
Yeah.
So, that's the element that I'm really moving
That's
into.
gorgeous. I know for me, some of my most profound work has been when I've been witnessed just by another human being, or by, like in a circle of women, when they actually turn the attention and the focus, and I'm seen. And one of the gems that can come out of that, I know, is that they often see you differently than you see yourself. And they have, you're looked at with kinder and more loving eyes than what you look at with yourself, more often than not, I think. And so they can reflect things that you're having trouble embracing because of whether it's shame or whatever it is, that that you've like desperately wanted to embrace that as part of your power, but for whatever reason, but having that, just that focused attention and that witnessing, non-judgmental, just in pure love, is it's breathtaking. So when you said that, I was like,
It is beautiful. It can be breathtaking to be in the presence of another woman who is willing to show herself, to shine. It's heart opening. It's breathtaking to be in the presence of radiance like that. And like you said, it's often surprising the feedback that we receive, the appreciations we receive. Women are very very perceptive, intuitive beings, and we're often seen and felt much more closely to the truth of who we are than we realize. So it can often be surprising, and I've had women in tears and such gratitude and appreciation for receiving that and being witnessed in events and workshops, because it's beautiful.
It's powerful.
It is powerful, yes.
I love that you're doing that. And I want to get into sensuality with you, and I want to get into, I know that you had a couple of quotes from your book, and I don't know if they're about sensuality, but I'm going to leave those topics to you. I know your work, I'm actually, Sensual Self is the title in the title of your book. But so, let's start right there. What is your sensual self? And then read us some quotes.
Okay. To me, sensual self is experiencing life through all of your senses. So it doesn't necessarily need to be related to sexuality, because often when you hear the word sensuality, you immediately think of sex or sexuality, but it doesn't necessarily need to be that. And for me, it is about awakening all of the senses. The touch, the taste, the smell, the sixth sense, intuition, and it's experiencing connecting with life through the senses and reconnecting with the body and awakening new sensations in the body: warmth, heat, coolness, tingling, all these sensations that we can experience in our everyday daily lives. So a sensual experience could be just simply walking by the water, seeing the beauty in a leaf on a tree, swimming in the ocean. It can become a sensual experience when we reconnect with this feminine essence, this feminine element that we have within ourselves, because it opens up a new realm of perception. And that brings me actually to a quote from a book that I'd like to read around that sense of perception. So this is my book, Language of the Feminine, and it's on page 74. When we listen to the wisdom of the womb, we can hear the language of our physical and energetic bodies. It is the language of the world speaking to us through our bodies. Our wombs are grounding, centering, and powerful forces within us. They are powerful organs of perception. Through this feminine element, we perceive life in a different way. Our feminine essence opens us up to an entire realm of sensations that speak to us, just like a language. This may at first seem chaotic, yet if we listen, we can begin to understand our feminine wholeness through the language of sensations. And I'll just leave it there at that short quote there. But this is something I bring into my workshops, is to help women to reconnect with this feminine essence, this feminine element. Because when we do, as I said in the quote, we open up a different realm of perception where we see life from a different lens, so to speak. And it's a much more holistic lens than this sort of linear, focused way of seeing life, where we can call that masculine and feminine. And of course, we're all masculine and feminine. We all have masculine and feminine elements within us. But the culture, most of the cultures that we live in are much more masculine. So linear ways of thinking and seeing things. So when we return to and awaken this feminine part of us, this feminine element, we are opening and widening our perception. And it's kind of like a radial, if you imagine like being in a bubble and you have this radial perception where you are aware of everything around you, and picking up on color, beauty, sound, a fullness. So it brings a fullness into the way that we experience life, a richness, a juiciness, pleasure, power, creativity. Yeah.
That's it's truly, it's profound. It's so, I want to go more into talking about your womb and talking about the language that you were talking about, the very first part of that quote. Because that is everything that you just said about it's generated from there, and our intuition, and I feel like it's like kind of our true self is being generated from that center. So can you share more about womb work and connecting to it, and why?
Yes. Why? I'll start with the why, actually. Center, bringing us back to center. This is our center of power, really, and it's like a battery that we can charge up. It's grounding. It brings us back into our bodies, out of our head spaces, because we spend so much time up here, especially with technology and the internet and thinking, and all the work that we're doing is very much head focused, and it can leave us disconnected from the rest of our bodies if we're not doing other practices like, you know, exercise or dancing or whatever kind of movement that you like to do. But it's also important to sort of internally go inside your body. I mean, visually imagining, like internally going inside and bringing the energy back down into the womb space. So, and a simple way to do that is through the breath. So you're just breathing in through your nose and breathing down through the back of your throat. And as you're doing that, you're visualizing the breath moving down through your body and arriving inside your womb space. And just the simple act of doing that for 5 minutes, you'll find yourself becoming much more grounded, much more centered, much more kind of charged up, so to speak, and connected to the earth as well. So the whys are quite extensive, really. Also, we hold so much emotion within our wombs, both individually for our own life experiences and collectively. We hold a lot of pain, we hold a lot of collective pain of the feminine. And so when we start to bring our awareness into our womb space and start to flow attention there, it can often release a lot of emotion, which can come in the form of, you know, anger, tears, laughter, rage, visual images, memories. All these sorts of things can emerge when we start to bring our awareness and our attention into our womb spaces. But it's different every time that you do such a meditation or bring your awareness there. And she has a voice. So I'm kind of personifying the womb, but we need to start to listen to the messages that our bodies give to us and bring, because so much of our intuition and our power and our internal voice is held in this space. So when we tune in and start to bring our awareness down here into our womb space, you can do that right now. It brings us into a different state of being, a much more centered and calm, and grounded and natural, slower pace as well. And from that place, we also have the ability to connect with other people in a different way, to be felt, to actually feel and hear and listen in a much deeper way. Because when we're up here, we're listening, but we're maybe not really listening. You bring yourself down and your awareness down and connect from this space, then we hear different things because our perception has changed. Just like I was mentioning earlier about it, how it opens up a whole new realm of perception and sensation. When we're connecting with other people from this space, from this place, we listen and we hear different details. We hear more, and we listen more deeply, and we connect through the heart. And so it makes the experience of connecting with another person much deeper and richer as well.
Yeah.
And it's hard to speak after because it brings out of that head energy, and sometimes there are no words to say because it's just being together with someone else in stillness in that space can be bliss.
Mm-hmm. It's, yeah. There's and I'm outing myself here for a second as I say this. In my personal meditation and in when I'm allowing source to come in and information and guidance to come in, I've been guided into going into that space and really expanding, and there's this deeper knowledge and wisdom that I know is there for me, and that I know is there for all women, because the message is coming in that this is not for me, it's for everybody. And I'm outing myself because I actually haven't gone there as much as I really should, but I suspect that you have. And so here's my question, and I hope that you can follow it. And if we have to cut this, we're going to cut this. So we'll just so right there. But I feel like that as I'm doing this, I can't believe I'm going to say this, that as I'm doing this is that the cervix comes into play. And I feel like the cervix is a stargate, that it's a gateway, and that I've been guided into actually going into the cervix much more, feeling like sensation wise of trying to feel it, but like also just, and once they're kind of like expanding, and I don't know what's beyond that. But do you have anything to say about, are you following me at all? Is there anything there that you know of? Sorry. We may cut this.
I think that our sacral center is, it is a gateway, isn't it? And it's one of the ways that we receive life is through this gateway. So to see it as a stargate in the way that you've experienced it is very natural, I think. Just as I was talking about our wombs have a voice, and we listen to the voice of that she has. So to do the other parts of our bodies, and the yoni, all her whole reproductive area in our bodies. And I think that the experience you have is something for you to listen to. What is it that wants to
we're probably going to cut this, so go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just going to go there as well, because I think this is...
Please. it may be, it may be divinely perfect and whatever, but just go for it.
Yeah, I think I had experiences recently as well where the connection between the yoni and the earth is part of how we connect to our sense of our sexuality, but also our grounding, our foundation, our home, all the things that represent the masculine element. And this is just an experience that I've had recently. And we all experience things in different ways and have different messages through the language of our body. And through this connection from yoni to earth is like having what am I trying to say? It's just like this line that connects to the center of the earth, that comes up through the yoni in the center of the body and then out to the top of the head. So it's this center coming back to center. And this is the part that roots us and connects us to the center of the planet, center of the earth. And that's my experience of the gateway that you mentioned, the yoni, the cervix as a gateway.
Yeah. So we're just, in case we do keep it this to, for those people that are like, what the heck are you talking about? It's, as Jane said before, it's something that doesn't have words to it. It's very hard, and you'll notice the stops and the starts, and it's because it's translation. Like we're translating from energy into the English language.
Yes.
And so that translation process sometimes can be fast, sometimes it can't. And but it's an energetic sensation, and then it's an energy work. It's something that's so beyond language. It's beyond language. And that's what's made it so dangerous in the past for those people that didn't have that, because it's so unknown. It feels scary. It doesn't feel scary when you're in it, but from standing on the outside of that, energy can feel really scary. So I don't know where I'm trying to go with that. I don't know why I pulled that in.
I think that what you just touched on there about finding words, finding language, it's so true, because there is so much that we experience, so much inner knowing that we have, so much understanding, and this is what I was talking about before, in the truth of who you know yourself to be, is the depth and the expansion of who you know yourself to be. And to explain that and try and find words can be very challenging, can be very difficult, because we communicate in multiple levels. So we communicate through energy all of the time, and words are a way to kind of succinctly try and express the depth of who we are. But sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes it's not enough to use words, and that's why we use creativity. We use all these other methods to express the parts of ourselves that we simply cannot put into words. And words often don't do justice to.
That's where that sensuality that you were talking about comes in. That's where, because that's a way to actually tap into that energy that, as you're, that you were talking about, just like walking by a lake, all of that. If we can actually get into the sensuality of life, not sexuality, like you said, but the sensuality, the feel of a velvety rose against, a rose petal against your skin can take you into that too. Yeah.
And those the moments life is made of, the beauty of being present to those experiences, present to feel it through your body, to witness, to smell, to bring life in through all these different sensations, all these different elements. And often these experiences can be hard to explain or share. Not that we have to explain it, but there's a part in my book actually where I share a very, very profound moment that I had. I can't remember what page it's on, but I'll look that up later. And I felt quite vulnerable sharing that in the book, but my experience is that sometimes it's good to keep something sacred for yourself, like a personal sacred experience that only you know, and it was beautiful and it touched you so profoundly and so deeply. And sometimes you want to share that with a close group of friends because it was so beautiful that you want to share that experience. And then occasionally you want to share it in a larger group. And I've shared one such thing through my book. And it can feel very vulnerable to share such things because they're very profound and meaningful experiences to us, but they may not be gotten by other people. They may not resonate. They may not understand. They may judge. They may have their opinions, etc., etc. So sometimes it can feel comforting and to read of other people's profound experiences like that, because we know we're not alone in that, and that there's just such richness and connectivity that we can experience by sharing those parts that are quite unusual, maybe, or vulnerable.
Yeah.
And tender. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Do you want to share with us the other quote in your book? We're getting close to, we've actually gone over a little bit, but do you want to share with us that last quote that you said?
Sure. Yeah, let me just find it. Let's see. Oh, this is on page 28. And this was in response to the wild feminine gypsy soul. We're not taught to be innovators, to do things differently, to understand our emotions or how to navigate relationships in these systems. I talk about mainstream education systems. We're not taught to trust the instinctive wild ideas that emerge within our being, to follow the flow of energy without knowing why, to be led by the pounding impulse to move, to go, to begin. That's just crazy. Why would you do that? What's the point of going there? I'm not sure if that's a good idea. Thus, seeds of doubt are planted. The unconscious questioning of others is often a test of our own sense of trust in ourselves. Without your trust, you will not listen and follow. And I wanted to share that quote because it is about other people, life, questioning these impulses, these instincts, these wild ideas that we can't often explain to other people, but we have a knowing that it's the right thing to choose, it's the right direction to go in, and it's part of the unfolding. But we're so in it that it's difficult to find words for or to explain. It's like having a big, big vision and it unfolds while you're in the vision, but sometimes it's difficult to express or explain that to other people. So what I want to say about that is for everyone who's watching is to learn to trust those wild ideas, those impulses. When you have that sense of knowing within you, even when life is questioning you, people are questioning you, people are asking if it's a good idea, and you can ask yourself if it's a good idea. Ask yourself, come back to your sovereign sense of self. But I think that's part of reconnecting to this wild gypsy soul that we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. And we just did that with this entire conversation today, didn't we?
We did.
That, like, what a beautiful bookend for that, because yeah, that's just what happened, folks.
Full circle.
Right? Awesome. Oh, that was juicy. That was really nourishing. Thank you. I'm going to turn the time over to you. I know that you have a free gift for us. I want you to, anything that we didn't touch on that you want to touch on, anything that you have going on, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, as you know, I was talking about my book called Language of the Feminine. I'll pick it up again so you can see the colors and everything. Awaken the source of your creative, intuitive, and sensual self. And I'm offering a free chapter of my book, which you can download from my website, which is janecormack.com. And you can read the first introduction and the first chapter and experience, if the book resonates with you. There are pleasure project chapters, pleasure projects at the end of each chapter, should I say. And this is a way for you to, after you've read the chapter, to actually embody it in your own life and bring it back to how does this apply to my own life. And I call them pleasure projects because it's about coming back to experiencing pleasure in the daily moments of our lives. So that free chapter is available from my website, and also if you enjoy it and you want to continue reading, you can obviously buy the book on Amazon, which you can find on my website as well. For anyone who is in the Edinburgh region, I don't know how many people might be from your audience, but you never know.
You don't know.
I'm going to be I'm setting up my events for the next 2 months here up until the end of the year. And I'm going to be running a Feminine Nourishment Sacred Woman Circle on Tuesday the 8th of November, and also a Witnessed Woman Sacred Witnessing Circle on Sunday the 13th of November. So that's going to be in Edinburgh, and there'll be details about that on my website as well. I also offer events in Berlin and other places sometimes as well. So you can stay connected by going to my website and finding out what's going on there. Sometimes they're very spontaneous in the way that I like what we're talking about. Right. following this impulse and idea, and then putting out an event or a workshop. So I suggest joining my mailing list, following, keeping in contact and seeing when events pop up. And the other thing I offer is individual Skype sessions for supporting women to reconnect with the feminine source within them, to do everything that I talk about in my book as well. Awaken the source of your creative, intuitive, and sensual self. So if you're interested in that, then of course you can check it out on my website as well. So I just want to thank you so much for this amazing conversation and opportunity to speak about these subjects, which are so cool and enriching.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being willing to just kind of go everywhere with that. And
yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did. It was awesome. Yay. So thank you. It was such a pleasure. And to everyone out there, thank you. We will see you tomorrow. Go out and unleash your wild on the world, and come back into Facebook, share it with us, reply to this email. Let's just talk. I want to hear about actually your thoughts on your womb space. And then let's actually just start asking a specific question. What are your thoughts on your womb space, and anything else that you want to share with us? Go in there and talk about it. Thank you. And bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.